Hello, I am the Cicada, and today is day 26 of Conquering the World. And I've come to a realization of what this series truly means, aside from the fact that I'm claiming to conquer the world through this series. And more specifically, it's not really about me trying to conquer the world, it's more about how, my thoughts, feelings, emotions, and personal struggles with trying to attempt this task, okay? Because that's what I'm trying to do. And right today, I'm going to talk to you about feeling utterly not miserable, maybe utterly lost and confused in this, not necessarily this specific conquest, but in the sense of how you feel whenever you attempt to do anything, right? When you feel lost, confused, overburdened, or whatever it may be. And all right, so we check off that box, right? Feeling lost and confused and not knowing where to go, and then you check that box off because that's how you're supposed to feel whenever you attempt to do anything. The second box I would say is now you move on from there and you move into the forest of confusion, where there's no clarity. The path is not set, and you are just looking for a way out of this confusion, right? And I think the first thing you need to embrace is it's okay to be lost. Obviously, depending on how lost and how long you're lost for is a different discussion. I am still very naive with this, and that's what I'm trying to explain right now, that I don't know what I'm talking about, and it's okay, and I'm okay to admit that because if I were to come here and say I know everything in the whole world, then that would defeat the whole purpose of this series, because this series specifically is here to represent how lost and confused I am, but how I refuse to go backwards and push forward through my confusion. Okay, that's literally the reason this series exists, and I want to talk about this specific topic today because I want you to understand how to move forward when you don't know the way forward. Okay. Today, well, I recently got into the book, The Tibetan Book of the Dead, which is a really weird book so far. I've just been kind of reading the author's explanation of the concept of Buddhism as a theology, and more specifically as a mode of thought, because through the author's description of Buddhism, it is not a religion. It is more a state of ideas brought together by the Buddha, who's not even a god, is just a being who understands the universe completely. And I don't know how I feel about all that. I'm not going to talk about that because I am naive with this. But with reading this book, it simply has taught me it's okay to be aware of how little you understand. When I was in high school, or when I graduated high school, I got my little graduation photo with me in my cap and gown. And my dad wanted me to write something on the back of it for him, like dedicated to him. And I wrote, "I know nothing, Michael Scott." And he got mad because he's like, "I don't care what Michael Scott says. I want to know what you think." And I'm like, I was trying to be both humorous and authentic with my thoughts, because I was trying to acknowledge I know nothing. Whatever I think I do know is where my downfall will begin. Because I do think I'm a smart fellow, right? I think I got a good head on my shoulders. But I also understand that whatever knowledge or wisdom I believe to have is very little compared to the immense amount of problems and issues that exist in this world, right? That's what I want to get out of the way right now, because whatever I'm telling you right now, take it with a grain of salt. I take my own thoughts that I have on a daily basis with a grain of salt, okay? That's the first thing out of the way. Just some thoughts on Buddhism in general and the ideology of it. I think it's really interesting. In the book, I was reading it for like 40 minutes today. There's this one quote, and it was talking about the three different forms of the Buddha's existence, right? The Buddha has three forms. And I'm going to read you just for verbatim a quote from this book. It said, "Second, a Buddha's perfect compassion becomes a form body, a limitless embodiment that reaches out from the enlightened being's blissful oneness with the ultimate reality of freedom to help countless other beings escape from suffering by realizing their own oneness with freedom." So in the Buddhist ideology, this concept of freedom is very important in the sense that all beings have freedom, and they need to find a way to connect themselves to this freedom, this thought of freedom, because it's like the thought of freedom literally provides freedom just with the thought of it. I don't know. I'm very naive in this. I don't know what I'm talking about. But I just bringing this up to say I know two things from this quote. One, people suffer. And two, the Buddha is not in a magical sense, has strategies on how to relieve people of this suffering, not by necessarily taking the suffering away, but by helping them think and understand. If you can understand the concept, you can obtain the freedom. That's what this quote, I believe, is trying to say. And obviously I haven't learned about these strategies on how to obtain freedom in a not philosophical sense, in a, you know, in a Buddhism focuses heavily on the thought of freedom and how to make the world a better place by allowing other people to obtain this idea of freedom, to make not only their own lives better, but the lives of the people around them, along with the betterment of the environment that they reside in. Okay, and this made me go back to thinking. The other day I was having a conversation. The other day I was having a conversation with a friend. This was like last week on Thursday. We were having a discussion on about the state of the world, and obviously this is a very stressful discussion, and I feel comfortable with him to talk about everything in its complexity and confusion, and just to be lost in it with him. And we were talking about how he said his claim was, no matter what we do to revolt against the elites, they've already ruined this world so much that our destruction, the death of this planet, is imminent. You know, even if it takes 100 years for it to occur, we've already exhausted all resources on this planet. And I wasn't trying to refute that claim. I don't know if that's true, but let's say that is his stance, and that is true. I was trying to say, all right, I understand what you're saying. What my argument is even if we can't reverse the effects of their actions completely, what we can do is reverse the consequences on their actions on us common people, on the common folks, the actions of the elite. What I was trying to get at was, if we can somehow dismantle these structures of power that put these people over us, hopefully in a non-violent manner, then we can redistribute, the resources of this world in a way that helps us all not necessarily thrive. I would like to say thrive, but maybe survive the consequences of the elite's actions in the future. And I also told him, you can believe that the elites have already screwed our lives enough and there's nothing we can do about it. But I would like to believe no matter how horrible they've screwed our lives, I want to do whatever I can to reverse their actions. Like, that's what I want to do with my life, right? To reverse the actions that the consequences the elites have had on our lives. That's what I hope to do with this platform. That's what I hope to do with just my being. And I like the idea of Buddhism because it's kind of like, so this is another quote from the book. And it was just, again, these are just quotes that are trying to explain the concept of Buddhism. So, the self can become a Buddha, claiming anyone, a being of perfect wisdom and compassion, and the environment can become a perfect Buddha land, wherein no one suffers pointlessly and all are there for the happiness of all. So, very simply, the goal of Buddhism is to make the world a perfect place, which is obviously a very high standard, right? But I want to be in the group of people that believes that we can do that we can obtain not necessarily perfection, but we can always fight for it, okay? You may call me a child, a naive, 20-year-old, because I believe that I can make the world a better place. We can make the world a better place. We can all work together to help each other. And so be it. So be it. If that's my stake in this world, that's my title, sure, I'll be the jester who wants to make the world a better place. But all that being said, I just want to be here to do my best, to do my part, okay? Also, with this, I was feeling lost because I was feeling like I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to create, right? And I'm going to link the TikTok below because you should watch it in its entirety. But the TikTok was talking about how that you need to be insane/manic to obtain or get to speak with the spirits of that hold creativity captive, like in this universe, right? The spirits or whatever. And one of the things that he said was he posed the question, how do I become crazy? He said, escape from the world and become a hermit. Go into solitude. And I want to throw that idea out there because I think it's interesting to want to shut everybody out and just go into your brain and into the universe of nature and whatever, and see what talks to you, and to notice the little voices that are subtle but they're there, okay? And I want to emphasize that to you as well. Maybe you should quiet the technological voices that exist and try to get back into what your soul's telling you, what the little voices are telling you. What are the trees telling you? If the trees could talk, what would they say? If the chipmunk could talk, what would it say? If the bacteria in your mouth could talk, what would they say? Pose yourself these stupid questions and see what smart answers they give you. And that's all. That's all for today. I want you to take from this video, you are limitless in your potential. The only cap you have is your brain. And the quote that's kind of going viral on TikTok right now is, Until death, all defeat is psychological. And that will make me cry because I believe in you limitlessly. There's no cap on my belief on you, only in the sense that you're capping it. I am saying you can do anything, and you're saying, no, I cannot. You can do anything, okay? And with that, Cicada Revolt, New Year's Eve, Cicada Revolt, be the change. Cicada Revolt, I would say, short snippet is the idea to revolt against the norms of this universe, and the medium on which I will give to will be held till a later date, but it will be a physical thing, okay? Goodbye. I love you. I hope you love yourself as much as I believe in you. Goodbye. Ciao. See you in the next one.